Well, here we are, it's morning. I've left the picture overnight and I came down a little bit earlier and just did a bit more fiddling. I'll explain what I've done, but I think I've done almost enough. So we're going to go through the process of how to finish off a painting, how to cover it and then have it prepared for the framers. So here we are. I think I've probably done almost enough. I've got the blue and I've covered in the edges a little bit because I'm going to put a frame up against it so you can see. And when I did that earlier on, of course, there was white bits of paper showing, so I've covered that all in. I've just tidied little things up. I put a little bit more dark blue in here just to bring it forward. I noticed there were a few wrinkles actually in the flower, so I've just got a darker grey and I'm putting those wrinkles in. Mustn't forget the wrinkles, we all get them. So there's a few wrinkles, and I've just sort of covered it in a little bit more in blue just to sort of bring them out. But on top of that, I've done the actual petal colour, the white. But there's a rule with white. I very rarely use black. And if I'm going to use pure white, I would only use it right at the very end, because if you start putting white on a picture too soon, it'll almost look transparent and you'll never get it light enough, funnily enough, because when you get to the end of a picture, you think, oh, that's a bit lighter, but you've used your white and that's the end of it, you can't do it. So I have a good range of whites here, which are pink whites, grey whites, yellow whites, and then there's the odd bit of very, very pure white, which I have used right at the very end, just to sort of do a few little highlights. Black I rarely use because I find using pure black does tend to deaden a picture. So I would go to the end of the colour spectrum, the darkest blue, the darkest green, you can get this almost black, the darkest grey, but it just gives a bit more softness and takes away the harshness, because pastel is a very beautiful medium. It's lovely to use when you've got the knack and you get the most wonderful colours. So I think I've done all I want to do now with this painting. I think I need to think, where am I going to sign it? I could put my name on it, and I look at it, and although some artists always put their signatures in the same place every time, I look at my picture and I think, where would it balance that picture? You know, I don't want it to look too obvious, but lots of people like to know who's painted it. Some artists don't want to sign their paintings, but I think it's a good thing to do. So what I'm going to do is take a pastel pencil. I use these occasionally, not very often. People often ask me, do you use pastel pencils to get fine details? Well, no, I use my tiny little dropped and corner bits. But occasionally I do use a pastel pencil. So I'm going to find a darkish colour. That's probably what it's black. I think it might be a bit too dark. We don't want too black. So perhaps a dark brown might do. Or even a blue. Let's have a look at this. A darker blue. It's an important thing to me to sign it properly, so somebody might want this picture, you never know. So I'm going to think about it, and sometimes I take a little bit of paper, which I haven't got here at the moment, so I'll just tear a bit off here. And I think, now where would my signature look best? Would it look all right here or there? I think there's too much that side, so I think I keep going over here. So I think I'm going to just put it here, because the actual picture I might be cutting off here. So I'll just, there we go. I'll put that. It's a little bit dark, so I'm going to get a bit of my pale colour and I'm going to go over it. I don't want to be too obvious. I think it's a little obvious at the moment. Let's find my blue. There we go. Just to take the edge off it. That'll be all right. So I think we finished. I tend not to spray my paintings. Some people do. If you do, it's probably best to get a quite good quality spray, but I think it often deadens the colour and you end up with a picture that looks a little bit like a newspaper photo. I tend to use paper that has this tooth, as I said right at the beginning, and because of that you can get a lot of pastel, and the colour's lovely and vibrant, so I tend not to spray it. So the thing is to get it behind glass if you want to keep it. So now I'm going to just go and get a little mock frame. So I'll put it up against it so you get an idea of what it's going to look like when it's framed. So this is just 2 little bits of card. So I think probably that sort of shape. I might even make it a bit longer, I'm not sure. I think that's probably okay. And it really brings the picture out. I might, when I actually take it to the frame, ask them to take it back a little bit, because you don't want it too crowded. And the other colour you can use, if you feel you want a coloured mount, I tend to like white mounts, but we've got one here that can, if you prefer a blue sort of mount, gives you an idea of the colour. But I'm just wondering, you know, if you have a white mount, it probably draws a bit more attention to the flower, but it's a personal thing. So there we are. We've sort of got it finished. I'll put this away a moment. What you have to be very careful is that you don't overwork. I could start fiddling and then it all gets a little bit muddy. So it would be a shame. You need to keep a little bit of freshness. I will just show you one other thing. That's over here. I have a painting here, or a print of a painting, which, as you can see, this gladioli is on a dark background, but I didn't fancy doing that dark background. I felt like doing it in a lovely English blue sky. But here's a picture I've done some years ago of an orchid, which I put on a dark background, and that is quite sort of striking. So it's a personal thing. That won't be pure black either, but it just brings it forward. A moth orchid, I think that is. So, but I preferred to have a nice blue airy sky. So we'll just start packing it away in a moment. So I'm going to take it off the board. Try not to smudge it. Just shake a little bit of pastel off. The other thing is, when I'm working, you have to be really careful you don't smudge it. It's really, really fragile at this stage. And when you're working, it's so easy, if your sleeves aren't rolled up, that you can wipe off quite a bit of picture. So always roll up your sleeves. Always be careful how you handle it. So I'm going to put it on this bit of board, ready for the framers. I'll use a bit of masking tape just to tie it down gently. When I go to the framers, I always take a little bit of pastel with me in case there's some damage. When I get there, I can just repair it. And the very important thing about the framer is that you do need to have someone who understands pastel, because it can so easily be damaged. So I'm just keeping on a nice board just to keep it flat. And the other thing which I always use is glassine paper. It's a little bit like upmarket greaseproof. And if you keep this on your pastel, it just protects it and also, you know, stops it from smudging. It means you can travel with it, and it keeps it nice and safe. So I'm going to just lie that on there to keep it steady. I'm going to do a little bit at the top. This will come off quite easily, this masking tape. I've already cut it to size. What you could do at this stage, if you wanted, is put another board on top, or just very carefully take it to your framers. So when I get to the framers, and I have to unpack it, I always have a little bit of kitchen roll with me, because often when I take the paper back and it hasn't done it today, but there could be a little bit of pastel on that paper, and then you want to be so careful that you put it back in the same place, or you get a mark where you don't want it. So there we are, it's all going back. So I've got my kitchen roll just in case. So this will now go off to the framer. Now a good pastel framer will always use something they call a trap, and that's because pastel dust always sort of comes off it, a little bit of static. You'll never lose your picture. As I said, it's the most permanent of all things, I think. But a good pastel framer will put a trap in it so any slight bit of dust always falls away from the mount. So what you don't want is have a tightly framed picture with a mount that's going to eventually be covered in a little bit of dust. You never ever lose the picture, you can't do, because it's such a prevalent medium. So there we are, we're ready to go to the framers. Now actually before that, what you could do if you wanted, you could take, if you really love what you've done and you think, oh, I'd like to do something with it, you can photograph it and send it off and make your photograph into all sorts of lovely things. There's cushions and mugs, coasters, cards. You could have a lot of fun doing it. So what I'm going to just do now is to go through the basics once more of your equipment and on this table here. So you need your ground rice, your container to keep your pastels in, and you need to give them a good shake up and give them a good clean before you put them back. And a beginner, I think these are quite nice pastels to use. They're called Inscribe, and something similar to this. They are called soft pastels, and all these pastels I'm using are soft, traditional chalk pastels, not oil. So you can get the full sticks, or you can get the half sticks. I always think half sticks are better, you get more. These belong to somebody else, they look a bit grubby, don't they? But anyway, you can get half sticks. If you get the whole sticks, you get a limited range of colour. If you get the half sticks, you get more. Same thing, keep them nice and clean. For my class, I often say next week we'll have pastel inspections. That always frightens them a little bit. Have to go home and clean their pastels. So for a beginner, Inscribe pastels are nice. You can get different sorts of paper. What I'm using was a more professional one called UArt. You can also get something called Pastel Matte, which gives a very nice finish. The cheaper options will be ordinary pastel paper, and the cheapest of all, of course, will be sugar paper. So if you're not sure, whether you're going to take to it, you need a basic box, sugar paper or plain pastel paper. You need some nice charcoal, probably medium size, not too thick, to start off with. And the other thing that's quite useful are these, they call them paper stumps, and you can use them for blending if you don't want to use your fingers, and they can be sharpened. So you've got your charcoal, so you're almost ready to start. I always have these little things as extras. This is quite useful, which is like a paintbrush, but it's got a silicone end, quite soft silicone end. And if you're doing a portrait of a dog, you can do whiskers and things with that. It's quite a useful little tool. The other thing my class have got rather obsessed with at the moment is a battery eraser. Great fun. You've just got to watch you don't lose control, but quite nice. Comes with some refills, and you can remove any little mistakes. And the other thing I keep, I've cut from 2 old Christmas cards, a little frame, so you can look at your painting and you can decide how much of the painting you want in using these 2. You hold one steady and you move the other one around to either landscape or portrait. And to remember about painting is not to be frightened about it, to enjoy it, be bold and have lots and lots of fun, and make it your own. And remember that portraits and landscapes really are almost all the same thing. So a portrait is a landscape of a face, and a landscape is a portrait of an area. But just do anything, try and do a little bit every day, even if it's just drawing with a pencil, and let's see what you come up with. But best of luck, enjoy it, and thank you for listening.